Don't get me wrong, there's times when we need to be resilient and we need to be strong, but I think there's a big difference between being hard and being strong that people often get wrong.
Yeah.
And the necessity to be resilient, to get through things is something we all need at times, but once you come through that, I think we all need to be a little bit more in touch with our emotions and be allowed to express however we feel at any given time.
Yeah. And this is especially close to your heart. We all know the brilliant documentary that you made about suicide, having lost your father to suicide. And so this is really close to your heart, isn't it? Because we have terrible rates of suicide in young men in this country, and clearly so much of it.
I think a lot of it comes from repressed feelings, and there's no good if you only scream when no one can hear. We don't have a good attitude towards being open, especially not men.
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you think as a man and as a boy growing up, you were actually encouraged to have a stiff upper lip? Because as a woman
definitely.
and a young girl,
well,
I'd say you get encouraged to express your emotions a bit more and be open and honest. And...
Yeah, whereas we get told to man up.
Yeah.
Which so although a really good female friend of mine used the phrase, I really need to woman up, so maybe we all just need to up at some point, which we do, but, you can't consistently just repress something that you feel and not be honest and authentic with your emotions about suffering at some point.
If you had a son, would you ever use any of those terms?
No, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because as a boy, you're brought up to be a man, but no one ever really explains or how do you define that? Like, what is it to be a man? I think, and I don't even think this is gender specific. Quite often, what you have to be is what someone needs you to be at any given point.
What do we need to change in the way that we communicating with?
I think, like what Stephen says, there's changes probably need to be across the board with gender in the way that we identify people and tell them they should be, and the narrative that we give to people, if they're a male or a female. I do worry about exactly what you were describing there. What is a man, and what am I asking of these two boys?
Quite often, I think what people associate with being a man is anger. It's like we repress all our other feelings. So a lot of the for men, a lot of the go-to is anger when they express an emotion.
Because that's being strong and brave.
Yeah.
I just want to talk a little bit about your single that's out that is beautiful. I was sat in the car on the way in today literally crying. It's absolutely beautiful. It's called Photographs.
The song came about because I was just talking to someone about how there's people that I wish I had more photographs of or with, not just people that I've lost to death, but people that I don't see anymore, and parts of my life, from 12 to 27, I have almost no pictures. I was playing out, I was out with my mates, and we didn't have camera phones.
Yeah.
That's how old I am. So there's large parts of my life that I don't have those pictures to remind me of those memories that I don't really recall anymore.
Really interestingly, something you said was that you have a box of pictures at your grandma's house of you and your dad and different memories that you cherish, but have only just felt like you could open those and perhaps even have them out and to look at.
Well, we went through them for the first time properly recently, which tells you everything about me growing up in a stiff British upper lip household. But actually, it was just quite painful to look at a lot of them. And I wasn't, I hadn't done a lot of the grieving that I clearly had to do. And grieving, do you know what? Like, the song isn't just about loss, it's about love.
I don't normally quote Tony Blair, but he came to the memorial service in New York after 9/11, and apparently he was quoting our Queen, but he said, grief is the price you pay for love.
Yeah.
And I thought that was probably one of the most sensible things Tony Blair ever said.
Yeah, well, it is beautiful, and it makes your point that that it's something that you really do pay the rest of your life. And you raised a petition to get a National Grief Awareness Day. We've got National Chip Day, we've got National Pie Day. Why haven't we got National Grief?
National Dress Up Your Dog Day, I think, is one as well.
So you've got just over 100,000 on your petition, but you need 150,000, and I think it's really good. We have to talk more, and I think, and you might not agree, and I think that Stacey probably agrees with me, stiff upper lip has probably played quite a big part in your life growing up.
Well, good grief is my line. Good grief, stiff upper lip. Yeah, I agree with you. You're not looking at the right man, really, when it turns to, do you believe in a lot of emoting? I don't believe in a lot of emoting because just it's not the way I was. Not the way I was brought up. And I sometimes think that maybe the pendulum, with greatest respect to you, Steve, because I do absolutely accept where you're coming from, I sometimes think the pendulum has gone a bit the other way in terms of emoting. Every time you turn on the television, someone's emoting.
I think a lot of your generation would agree with that. I don't necessarily agree. I don't know about you, because...
It's tough, isn't it? Because you are a product of your generation, you're a product of your upbringing. There are
Is it
certain
not?
things that I do that I realise I should be conscious of now, even though my parents didn't realise they were doing it and I didn't realise when I was growing up. And I just think it's that.
Every time I say anything that's introspective, my mum says, "Oh, all this navel gazing. When did everyone start looking at their navels?"
Well, there's
And
not
that's
much
just
of a
why she's-
navy left, I can
No,
tell you.
navel.
Oh, sorry. I'm speaking as a chap whose father fought.
And it's hard sometimes because I want to be able to talk on that level, but I just have to accept that it's a generational thing. What about your kids? Have you been able to be more
But you're
emotional?
right, it is a
with them?
generational thing, because the amazing thing is there are people alive today who fought in 2 wars, just about. I mean, there might be 1 or 2 left who fought in 2 wars. That's what you've got to remember. So I can understand when people say, come on, you know.
But that was necessary during war. And for that to carry on through to, I mean, you have a background in
I'm not
politics, you
saying-
have kids who
I'm
work
not
in
saying
politics. Having a whole bunch of politicians who aren't in touch with their feelings tells you everything about why certain decisions are made.
What would you say to that?
I think I'm in a minority here. That said, I like to think that I am, you know, close to my nearest and dearest.
Because we know your family very well, you know, on the political stage.
You probably
But
know
what
them better
about-
than I do.
But what about you? What about you as a dad? Were you a cuddler? Were you a hugger? Would you have ever cried in front of Boris and your other
The
children?
only time I cry is when I'm watching Chariots of Fire.
Really?
That is the only da-da-da-tum, tum,
For the music.
da-da-da-da-tum. I mean, can you believe it? I'm going to cry
That's
now.
such a stiff upper lip thing to cry about. Chariots of Fire.
Chariots
Maybe
of
that's all
Fire.
the feelings he's repressed coming up and out.
I think so. I think it is all the feelings that have suppressed.
Do you want a hug? Do you need a hug?
Yeah, come on then.
Oh, yes!
Come on, we're going to have a hug.
You've got to relax a little bit. That's a bit stiff.
Oh,
No, no.
I love
What
that.
politicians do when they hug, they usually stab you in the back while hugging, so
Oh,
you've got to
that's
watch
it.
out for that.